Welcome back, everybody. For 2D1 today, we're still working on 1-point perspective. This is part 5, and you're going to learn how to basically work with more complex stacked forms that have angles in them. So the prism that we just last did would come in handy for this. Also, we're going to try to tackle cylinders before we run out of time. So basically, you can see my setup is back to standard view. I've got my horizon line right through the center and my vanishing point there as well. If you need to pause the video and get set up, that is totally fine. We're going to move on now to creating our first complex form, and what I've chosen to kind of ease you into that is going to be a block letter. But just remember, a block letter is just a compilation of blocks. And if you can do this block letter I'm about to show you, you could really do some other creative things besides just lettering. So my first tip to you, though, is to think of this block letter as a paper letter in the beginning and ask yourself how you want it to look. Do you want the side of the letter to be facing you? Or do you want the side of the letter to be facing sideways? It may sound like a silly question, but it's really a creative choice that you have. So the first view I'll show you is the one I think that's probably more standard that most people would want to see, and that's the front of the letter facing us. The letter we're going to do is the letter N. So we're going to be using our ruler again, and we're going to do verticals going straight up from this corner. I'm going to keep it pretty low and maybe a little on the small side. We're going to go over horizontally and create the top of this first letter N. Let me go ahead and show you what we're doing. I'll do a stick letter N up here so you can follow along. We are working on this right here in like a paper rectangle form. Okay, so now that you know what we're doing, we're going to go back to this and create the second part of it coming straight down. And then, of course, we want a horizontal at the bottom. Okay, so we have our first stick of the letter N right here. The letter N could be wide, it could be skinny. It's really up to you and the font that you're creating. I don't have a preference. If you want it to look like mine for the sake of understanding if you're on the right track, you can aim for it to look like mine. What I'm going to do is maybe starting from that outer line, maybe like, maybe starting from this line. I'll do about 2 fingers width, and I'm going to add my next exact same thing over here. Okay, so in fact, I'm going to go ahead and figure out how tall it is by getting that lined up with the side of my page, putting that over here. There's my horizontal. My other horizontal marking over here. And now I'm going to do my missing verticals that I need. All right. Okay, now what I need is the angle that goes across. This angle might remind you of the prism on the roof. It's going to just be whatever angle we decide. So if I want to maintain that thickness in the font and be consistent with that, I might want to keep it in mind as I go and say take that width and imagine it right here. It'd be maybe to that part. But again, fonting is like totally up to the designer. It could be skinnier here or fatter here. It's just up to you. I'm going to try to go for something somewhat matching. All right. Of course, you can use your ruler. That way it doesn't end up bowed or anything like that. Once you have the flat side of your letter established, you can erase any lines that separate your multiple pieces. And now you're ready to make it dimensional. So it's really just flat right now, right? Just like we always start at the beginning of a form with a flat square or rectangle. And then what we would always do next is give it dimension and go towards that vanishing point. So we're doing that with the N. But look how many corners we have. We have all kinds of corners. So my advice is just start here and work your way around the letter. Okay? So from the left to the right, I'm going to start doing this. I'm not going to go all the way because I don't want my end to go on forever. I'm just going to go a few inches back. I'm giving myself more than I think I need. I find it easier to erase than to get my ruler back in place and draw it again. All right, so far so good. I'm going to come down here and do this guy now. Okay, and I skipped this interior corner because I realized that if I lined it up, it would go behind this wall. So there's no reason to draw it if I want a solid letter. All right, this one I'm going to go ahead and show because it looks like it would be showing underneath. So I'm going to converge that towards the vanishing point. And I'm going to stop. So this is where you would normally chop the form. So we would take what was in the front and put it in the back. Take what's in the front, put it in the back. This is no different. So this here in the front goes between the two converging lines. What is it? A horizontal. Let me color code this again because you people like me that are really color oriented, this is going to help. All right, vertical, we do blue. So there's your vertical pattern. And then converging lines we'll tackle at the end since they're about to get chopped, and I don't know. We're going to do pink like we did on the roof of our prism in our house. Okay, so since that was our choice of angle, we're just giving it that wild card pink. Okay, now as we chop this, I'm going to lay my ruler down horizontally, and I'm going to start over here. I'm going to take that horizontal and I'm going to lift it and place it back here somewhere. It's up to you how deep the letter extends off into the vanishing point. I'm going to go with this location. And I might as well, this is a nice little tip, might as well while I'm here connect it across on the other side because I want those to be the same. I don't want them to be like one's long and one's short. Okay, and then I would do my vertical just like here in the back. So use your tool, get it laid down against the bottom of your page, nice and even, and then trace it straight down so you don't have a crooked end. Okay, erase any extra tails of converging lines that are hanging out the back. And by now you can probably tell what's missing. You might feel like it's a vertical, and that's true in a sense because underneath the form, you know, if you're stacking three-dimensional forms, that would be there. However, this should be blocking our view of that. So this angle can just be parallel to that angle. If you're not confident that you're getting the angle right, you can finish the form out in transparency. I'll show you that now. I would go to this corner, take it towards the vanishing point, go to this corner, horizontal over, this corner goes up vertical, and then I can aim that directly down to that corner. There, it changed it just a hair. And all those process lines of transparent form I don't need. That's just for the really picky technical people that are watching. Most of you are comfortable with just doing a parallel line and you're okay with the result even if it's a tiny bit off. Now it's possible that back here, depending on how skinny you made your end, you might have another chop to do there. You might have to do a vertical to match from there straight down. But from my point of view, at this angle, with this thick of a letter, I don't have to do that. So that is my letter N. That's my complex form. It requires kind of all the skills we've done so far, or at least a little bit of each. And I think all I want to do now to finish this particular form out is just go ahead and finish the color coding so I can complete that pattern. For those of you that this really helps. Ooh, a little wavy. All right, converging lines are red. Now, If you can do that, you can do an M. You can also do a Z. It's not any different than any of that. There's kind of a handful of letters like that now you can do, and you got to really imagine this as other things. Like if I'm not really into these letters, I might be thinking of it more like some fun playground or an interesting building or whatever. I always like to play around with my little stick guys, interacting with these surfaces so that I can imagine doing some fun things with them, so that I'm not like, why am I drawing block letters? Do I even care about block letters? So this guy's sliding down. Oh, it looks like he broke his leg. We'll fix that. There you go. And he's waiting his turn. All right. So the point is, have fun with the block letters. You've done one with me, and now I would want you to do one on your own. You could do it over here, here, here. It really doesn't matter. It's all the same skill set, but follow along with me, then do it again on your own. You're going to follow that same format with the cylinder, and you'll find that it's actually a little faster. Excuse me, I just got the hiccups. I'm going to go ahead and show you that really quickly here. So a cylinder is an O, if you want to think of it that way. And what I would encourage you to do is just start with two converging lines coming out. All right. Then you're going to do two verticals going down. Sorry, I kind of knocked into our camera. And then your O, or your 0, or whatever this form is going to fit into that space. Just kind of round it out naturally. You don't have to do that step, but I find that sometimes it helps. Okay, and then you're going to erase that guiding line in that area and just do a horizontal right here. Remember, horizontals you can use the side of your page to get. And over here as well, at the very bottom of the curve, the very top and the very bottom of the curve. I'm going to do a couple different cylinders. This one is facing sideways, and now I'm going to mimic that curve the best I can here and curve it around the same. All right, if it's got a hole in the middle, then I can finish that. That's like a ring, like I can imagine something flying through it. Or I could create a more solid surface and put an actual hole opening on it, and then we would only see some of that. Actually, we wouldn't see that. We would see this over in the back. So yeah, it'd actually be pretty solid looking from this perspective. So that's one type. Let's do another. This time I'm going to do the flat side of it, this side of the O, facing at us. So again, you could start with horizontal, vertical to like get it, I don't know, somehow boxed in, I suppose. It's not really necessary. You can just freehand that part. Decide what the opening is going to be. Okay, but the part that really matters, I'm going to go ahead and erase this for that part. The part that really matters is we need to project the outer part of the curve. So I'm just going to attach to my vanishing point and dial over till I bump into the curve. Make sure you're still on it. Okay, same thing from the top. Dial it over, bump it in. Now I've got a cylinder. Can take that curve and chop it in the back as many times as I want to create as many as I want. Kind of looks like a straw or a scope. Pretty fun and pretty creative. Guys, play around with this. Do different things. Take it and turn it sideways. What does that require of your thinking? But this is the hardest stuff we've done so far. So I want to see lots of practices, even if it takes a couple pieces of paper. Send me pictures of your work, and that'll let me know where we're at so we can move forward. Good luck, guys. Send me questions that you have.